my online class has a chance. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to start recording. Let's get to the calendar here. So we are in week 14, right? So hopefully you've got the IP subnet packet in. We're going to be getting it in. We've got two labs, the ACL, well, okay, now the switchport security lab and the ACLS lab, ACL lab. So these two are due next Sunday. And let's see here, there's an extra credit lab if anybody needs that. There is a makeup exam for certain people that didn't have a laptop or a computer or that, and the school didn't get them a temporary loaner until after the exam deadlines. That's why there's a makeup exam. And also I think there was at least one individual, I don't remember which class, but that had a issue where the exam closed on him, and it was obvious that it closed on him. He lost his internet connection, like right after like the third question. So that's why there is a makeup exam. So it threw some people in the other class. So don't worry about that unless you need a makeup exam, and you should know who you are. The final is due May 6th for this class by 7 at 7 p.m. Let's see here for my online class. Let me go ahead and, since I'm recording this for them too. Oops. So really, that's lovely. For my online class, they have a little different dates or times too. Yeah, they're Monday at 8. I knew there was a different date. All right, but the ACL labs and the switchport security labs are still due. All right, other than that, May 1st, no more assignments will be graded. So everything needs to be turned in by May 1st, except for, of course, the final exam lab and the final exam. Those are able to be turned in. I think, yeah, May 1st is the same for the online. So nothing will be accepted after May 1st. Let me see here. Let me get to here in case anybody does a chat. All right. So those are the main big issues as far as the calendar. Before I do have a little bit to go over for routing that I want to go over. But before I do that, does anyone have any questions or any issues, anything related to the labs, the subnet packets, anything in general, the exams? Okay. No, sir. Okay. All right. Well, then let's go. What I'm going to do is open up I've created a packet tracer, and I will put this packet tracer out in Blackboard probably in week 15, this folder. And it's there for you to practice if you want. It won't be for a grade, but I just figured this would be a good way to go over static routes. So well, let's get rid of this. So let's do this. We have 3 PCs, basically what we'll have is 3 networks on here. What are basically 3 edge routers, right, going into a central router here. And the goal of this lab, all right, I'm gonna have to flip this real quick. All right. goal of this lab is to get the PCs to talk to each other, be able to ping each other. And so let me go ahead and get some of this set up. So PC 0, we're going to put with the 192.168.0.1 IP. So we'll just go, we'll add its IP address. Oh, maybe we won't. So 192.168.0.1. And it is the default subnet mask, so we're okay. Our gateway is going to be, let's see if this will work now. 192.168.0.254. Okay, that worked. All right, so that's going to be the router IP. So this is going to go onto our, actually it's the gigabit. I'll have to change that. So it's the gigabit Ethernet card facing the switch, right? So we're going to go on to the router 0, and we'll configure our gigabit Ethernet. We'll first turn it on. We'll put in its IP. This default mask is fine. So now we've got this side of the router connected. Now we need to get the serial interface that goes to our central router, router 3. And so that IP is this 200.200.201, right? But its subnet mask is 255.255.255.240, right? So that's important. So we'll go here on the serial Ethernet card, or the serial port, and we'll change our subnet mask to 240, all right, and turn that on. Okay. Then I'm going to jump down. I'm going to get the router 3. It's also the same subnet mask, and our router card is 14. So I'm going to go on here, go to our serial interface, port 0. So port 0 goes to router 0, port 1 goes to router 1, and port 2 goes to router 2. Oops. Got a space. There we go. All right, so I'm just going through this a little quick just to get it set up, and turn that on, because the most important thing is the routes. And but so right now we've got an IP address on the internal port on router 0, the external part of router 0, and the internal port here, port 0 on router 3. So you would think that we could get, so we can go to 192.168.0.254, which is our internal router port, and that works just fine. Okay, so we can get there. We can 200.200.200.1, I think. Let's look at this. Router 0 is 1, right? So the external port on router 1, and we can get to there just fine. But now when we try to get to router 3, right? So 14, right? So 200.200.200.14, the one we just configured here, right? When we try and ping that, it goes nowhere, right? So what's going on here is we can get to this router, to router 0, but we haven't told router 0 any routing information. We don't have any dynamic routing. We have no routing really going on here, and it has no idea how to get to router 3. And then likewise, likewise, even when we get to router 3 would have no way and no idea how to get back to PC 0, right? So what we need to do is You either turn on dynamic routing and configure that, which that's beyond this course, but what we're going to do is static routes. So we go on to the router, and what we want to do is, I'm going to get out of the interface, go into config mode, config T, right? And then we're going to add a route, IP route, and then for router 0, it only has one way to go. So everything it's ever going to do, it's going to send to router 3. So what we do is we set a default route, and that is the 0.0.0.0 IP with the mask, subnet mask of 0.0.0.0. And then we tell it to go to router 3, which is 200.14, I believe. Right, yeah, 1.4. So what we're telling it is, if you need to go to a network that you don't know about, right, that's not local, go to router 3. So that's what these zeros tell it, is for any network not defined, if I don't have any other routes defined, and you can't find where to go to router 3 and send it on there. So we'll do that, and I'm just going to exit and write and save the config. So now that's the first half, okay? So now we need to build the route back to PC1, right? So we on router 3, we can't use the default route or 00, 0000, because it has 3 choices. Now, if we had a internet connection, if there was another way out here and that was going out to the internet, you could do a 00 route to that, because if you don't, you'd have to build out these 3 routes and then say, if it's not one of these 3 routes, send it out to the internet. It could work like that. But so we don't have that. We have these 3 routes. We got to spell them out specifically. So we're just going to do the first route. Do config T. We'll do an IP route, but this time we need the network address and subnet mask. So PC0 is in the 192.168.0.0 network with a subnet mask of 255.255.0, and it can be found off of router 0, which is 200.200.201. So what's this saying is, if I have a packet or I get information that needs to go to any machine on the 192.168.0.0 network, send it to router 0. So I go ahead and do that. Exit. I'm going to write it to memory. So now I should be able to ping PC1, and I can. Now I can go back to our PC0, excuse me. Then I go back to PC0, and I can now ping router 3, because I have routes that allow me to connect to router 3. Now, of course, I can't do PC1 or 2 yet because, well, I haven't configured them. But so we'll go back up. PC1 is in the 172 network with the default mask. So let's grab that IP. All right, and then its router is going to have 172.16.255.254. So that's the router internal port. And so we've now got a gateway. Oops. Get rid of the space. And now we've got the gateway. So now I can ping 172.16.255.254. Oh, no, I can't. Got to turn the card on. So, and also give it its IP, right? Let's do this, subnet mask, and turn the card on. Got ahead of myself. All right. So it's almost up. All right, well, while that's going, let's get the serial port. Serial interface is 17. All right, and it'll connect to 30. Okay. So serial card is 200, 200, 200, 17. Yeah. 17 goes to 30. Yeah. All right, but this is the 240 subnet, and we got to turn it on. Okay, so we should be able to ping, and we can ping the internal card on the router 1, but we cannot ping, we can ping the external card on router 1, which is 17. Well, or maybe not. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. We should be able to get to there, but packet tracer is acting a little funny. And that's okay. So we'll, oh, I know why. Did I turn it on? I turned it on. Yeah, okay. All right, let's turn this on. And 200, 200, 230. And it came up with the right mask because we've already configured serial 0 with that. And network ports on a router have to be in different networks. That's why we have the subnet mask. We broke this up into multiple networks. All right, so now we can ping it. You know, it makes no sense that we had to configure router 3 to get to router 1. But we still can't get to router 3 because we have no routes. We can get to router 1, but we can't get to router 3. So now we need to go on and put in our default route. So config terminal, IP route 0.0.0, 0.0.0.0, 200, 200, 230, right? So this is saying on router 1, any network that we don't know about, go to router 3. So we've got that set up. And then on router 3, we need the other half, right? So now we need to do an IP conf t IP route. So PC1 is in the 172.16 network, right, with the default mask. And we want to send that to router 1, because that's where that network is 17. So now we'll write and save that. Now we are able to ping, or should be able to ping, PC1. And then if we go to PC1, we should be able to ping router 3, but we should also be able to ping PC0, and we can. And so then from PC0, we should be able to ping PC1, and we can. Okay, so what we've done is we've put in our default routes on router 0 and router 1 that send all the traffic to router 3, but then we've got individual routes, and we'll go on here and do a show R running config, and we've got 2 routes on here. One that says if it's the 192.168 route, send it to router 0. If it's the 172.16.0.0 network, send it to router 1, right? And so now we just got to do this for our PC2, and we can complete this. And so we'll do it one more time. So PC2 is in the 10 network. I'm just going to grab this. Save us a little time. So our gateway is 10.255.255.254. Our IP address is going to be 10.0.1 with the default mask of 255.0.0.0. So our PC is configured. Now our router, where is that? Our router is, okay, and we got serial interfaces 33. Okay, so our router internal port is 10.255.255.254 with a default mask of 255.0.0.0. We'll turn that card on. This is 200.200.200.33. Once again, we're in the 240 subnet because that's the subnet that's in here. These are broken up into the 240 subnet mask so that we can have multiple routes, right? But still all be in the 200 range. Let's see here. All right, so now we need the serial port on router 3. Serial 2 to go to router 2. And it comes up with the right subnet mask once again because serial 0 and serial 1 are connected. All right, and so now we've got all the ports on, but once again, we can ping the internal router. We can ping the external port on the router to what is the 46. But right now, because we do not have routes, I can't get to router 3, right? And in fact, I can't get to PC 0, right? So it's telling me the destination as host is unreachable. I have no idea how to get there, right? And the same with PC 1, right? Destination is unreachable. But so now if I go on to router 2 and I do my IP route 0.0.0.0, 0.0.0.0, 200, 200, 246, which is router 3. Once again, we're just saying from router 2, anything I know, send to router 3. Oh no. There we go. Thank goodness for the up arrow. All right. So now we should be able to ping PC2, right? But we can't ping PC1. Oh, okay. Well, tell me I'm a liar. All right. That really should shouldn't have worked. It shouldn't have came back. But we really should. It's just luck that it came back. So we really need to put the route back here. I think it's just a glitch in Packet Tracer. But regardless, we'll put our route in and know that for the 10 network, that it needs to go to router 2. All right, so now we have a fully configured environment, so we should be able to get to PC1, and we can. We should be able to get to PC0, and we can. All right, and PC1 should be able to get to PC2. We know it can get to 0, so and it can. And PC0, our last one, ping 10.0.0.1, and it can. So all 3 PCs can ping. So if I go and check my results, right, congratulations, right? So I've done everything. All my routes match, all my IPs match. But most importantly, I have the static routes, right? Any questions? I know I went through it fast, but I mean it's all this should be where you know, except for the routes, should be the only thing that's fairly new. Any questions over anything in general though? All right. Well, that is our static routes. That should come in handy on, I believe, in the final. It might even use them a little briefly. I know the extra credit, I think that has them. But it's good to know about how to do basic routing and static routes. There are some dynamic routing, but there's a lot to go with that, and getting that, just too much for this course. But static routes are quick, easy, and guaranteed. That's what I like about static routes. But of course, if you make any changes, if you were to change, had to make changes on all these routers, it would be a lot of work to go through and update all the routes, right? So that's where dynamic routing does kind of help. But in most environments, the routers don't change that much or shouldn't change that often. And I was always, of course, I never really had to deal with a lot of, internet traffic or anything like that nature. I mean, I had the one internet port out, like in the school district, and had 22 schools just like this. And I preferred having the static routes because I knew for a fact where my traffic was going and when, versus dynamic routes trying to see if it would go or not go, or didn't know how to trace something because how did it flow, right? So to me, I like the static routes in that aspect, but for what I was doing, it made sense. You get into much larger networks, or if you're dealing with being an internet service provider or something like that, and you got thousands of connections, static routes are going to be the bane of your existence. You want to have very few of those probably, and using the dynamic routes, because your customers are constantly onboarding and leaving and changing and doing things like that. So dynamic routes make sense in that aspect, where static routes can make sense in most organizations and their smaller environments. All right. If no one has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and shut off the screen sharing and stop the recording. So